So let's just get in there. All right, so yeah, massive thanks to everyone that's come along. Super hyped to get this going. We got a lot of interesting shit to cover today. So my name is Matt, for everyone that doesn't know me. I've been skating for 20 years. I'm a personal trainer and nutrition coach, and I train skaters out here in Barcelona where I live. And I run a project called The Daily Push, which is all dedicated to bringing health and performance knowledge into the skate world. So we're going to be going over lots of different things today, lots of things you can do to reinforce your mind and your body for skating. We're going to be getting into some basic stuff, some essential stuff, and of course, you know, some strange and funky stuff as well, all right? So if anyone's got any questions at any point as we go through this, just drop them in the chat, and at the end we'll do a little Q&A. And I've got my eye on the chat as well, so if there's any big problems, like if something sets on fire behind me or the audio stops working, let me know, okay? Alright, skate goals. Strange one to hear in the skate world, right? So, as cringe as the word goal might sound in skating, nearly all of us have some goal related to skating. Maybe you want to learn new tricks, maybe you want to skate gaps, handrails, or just push out of your comfort zone. Maybe you want to have longer sessions, feel better on your board, or recover faster, or maybe you want to go pro, skate in big competitions, or just like reach a level that you are hyped on. Maybe you want to have fun, skate with your mates, and, you know, bomb some hills, just take it easy, have a good time. So the problem is though, many of us have these things that are holding us back from these goals. Maybe we struggle to learn and lock new tricks in. Maybe we're held back by fear, we can't commit, or we're scared of getting injured. Maybe we got low energy, we don't feel strong and comfortable on the board, or we're always struggling with aches and pains and feeling like after the session we're just being leveled by a stampede of wildebeest. And maybe all these things combine and make you doubt if you could actually get better at skating, or maybe you're getting old and you're worried you're not going to be able to skate for much longer. So these are all straight up valid problems, and countless skaters face them daily, alright? So first off, give yourself a break, okay? Because it actually all makes a lot of sense when you consider the fact that skating is incredibly hard and most people have shit methods to learn. Skating puts insane stress on the body, and most of us do nothing to handle this stress or increase our abilities to handle it. And it can be pretty dangerous at the end of the day as well, meaning we're potentially going up against millions of years of evolution designed to keep us safe and stop us from doing exactly what we're trying to do. So pretty much, you might be working against yourself just physically and mentally as you try and skate, like many skaters do. So how do most skaters try and solve these issues? Well, there's pretty much one map in the skate world to get better at skating, and it is try tricks, Try more tricks. Maybe a few more tricks. Skate more. Try some more tricks. And basically just hope for the best, right? All of that combined with the classic skate lifestyle of just like no warm-up, not fueling your sessions, shit recovery, high mental stress, no resistance training. And that, my friends, it's a recipe for success at the end of the day, It's a recipe for success. Actually, no, it's not. It's not at all. Now, don't get me wrong, like actually trying tricks and skating is the most important part to get better at skating. Like if you want to learn kickflip crooks, nothing's going to help you more than actually trying a kickflip crook, right? But to skate at your best, to learn and progress fast and to feel good whilst doing it, it doesn't just depend on the physical act of like moving your legs in a certain way to do the trick. If that's all it was, how come, one day you can feel on point and the next you feel like absolute shit and that you've lost all of your tricks? Just like Mark Johnson says in this legendary bit, man, this video is so good. Final flare.
There are some days when I'm skating and it's like almost like a sixth sense. Like one day you can skate horrible and the next day you wake up and you don't even stretch or anything, It just feel like on point.
So how do we access that sixth sense, right? Well, this happens because how your body functions and how you skate is a system made up of many different parts, right? Including the physical, how healthy and well recovered you are, how energized, vibrant, strong, light on your board you feel. The mental, how focused and confident you are, how you handle challenges, setbacks, how you handle stress, how focused you are, how you practice, like how are you actually trying to learn tricks and lock tricks in, and can you actually remember those tricks? Can you keep them locked in? The environment, like what kind of people are you with, where the places that you skate, do you feel safe and supported in those places and with those people? Is it the right environment for what you're trying to do? And then the rest of your life as well, like, are you feeling down because maybe your cat's ignoring you? Are you stressing from relationships or work? And then, are you connecting with what's important to you? Like, do you even give a shit about doing another back 5-0? Like, really, this is like the 412th back 5-0 you've done this year. Do you really care? You know? So the way you skate on a certain day, right? It depends on the total state of all of these different things and all these different systems. It's not just like how are you moving your legs on that day as you try a trick. And this, my friends, is what's called the deep performance approach. Okay? So it's about taking a whole life, whole person approach to skating and well-being based on an understanding of not just experience through skating, but science, physiology, being human, and lots of different things. So it doesn't mean you're never going to have a bad day, like everyone does, even the biggest pros, but like building skills in these different areas, you can massively increase, or massively reduce, how many bad days you have, and increase your ability to skate better, progress faster, feel better, and just straight up just kill it as a human. And if you're thinking, well, so many pros got good from just trying tricks, like yes, that is true. Most pros though they get good when they're really young, right? They learn, and it's when you're young that you can learn crazy fast, and that they've probably got combined with the right mindset to power them and just keep them pushing forwards, which is something we're going to get to soon. But the truth is, when you are young, you could potentially get even better if your sessions aren't fueled by just like custard creams and Ribena, like mine were. Quality English snack right there. Many an Englishman is powered by that combination right there, the magic combo, if you will. But regardless, all pros, they're going to reach a point where just skating won't be enough, and that's exactly why you're seeing so many pros that are starting to train, eating better, and just taking better care of themselves these days. Okay, so now we know that just tricks aren't enough. Just how we move our legs isn't enough to progress and get where we want with skating. There are other things that could block us from changing how we skate and feel, and other skills we can develop to get there in all those different realms that I was talking about. So this gives us a new, more reliable map to get where we want with skating, and it gives us a better idea for what we need to focus on to actually get there, right? And just to reassure you, the beauty of all of this shit that we're about to go over now, like it's not that like you have to slap on some Lycra leggings and employ some coach to just like aggressively blow a whistle at you whilst you're crying like, I don't want to do another kickflip, don't make me, it doesn't have to be that, and it won't be that. So most of this stuff is really just about making subtle changes that can fit in with your lifestyle, so you can still maintain that skate rat lifestyle. So at this point, the skate troll, he's going to present you with a predicament. There he is, there's the skate troll. He's going to ask you, do you want to continue what you're doing, struggling, learning slow, being controlled by fear, and holding yourself back? Or do you want to make some relatively simple changes to benefit how you skate and feel on your board? Hopefully you said yes to the second one, so if you have, then we're going to continue. Okay, so let's get our trumpets right in there, starting off with the first and only place to start, mindset. So the definition of mindset is the accumulation of your attitudes and your beliefs. Your attitudes and your beliefs influence everything you think and feel, how you perceive the world, but most importantly, your behavior and what you do. If you believe you're not going to get good at skating, or you're not good enough to skate the local park, maybe you won't go. If you believe you're a lizard, you'll probably try and climb up walls and photosynthesize, and will eventually die because you're probably not a lizard. And to everyone that's there and they're like, lizards don't photosynthesize, well, actually, there is a lizard that does. It's this one. So there you go. If you don't learn anything else from this webinar, you at least learn that there's a photosynthesizing lizard. So 2 important types of mindset we're going to go over today are fixed mindset and growth mindset. So a fixed mindset is the belief that your skills and abilities can be developed, that you're born with, that they can't be developed. And fixed mindset is the belief that your skills and abilities can't be developed. that you're born with whatever skills you have and you can't really do much to improve them. Someone with a fixed mindset might think that people who are good at skating were just born with their ability to skate and that they could never reach their level or get much better than they are right now. They might believe that they'll never be able to do certain tricks or that they're just too old to improve. They ultimately believe that they don't really have much control over their life and their abilities. Whereas, on the other hand, a growth mindset is the belief that you can get better at anything as long as you put in the effort. Someone with a growth mindset, they're gonna, they might think they're not where they want to be yet, but with enough practice, they can get there. They might think, or they might accept they don't have good nollie flips now, but with enough practice, they can learn them, they can figure them out. They ultimately believe that they have control over their life and their abilities. So it's important to mention, though, that it's not like you have either a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. Like, most people have a combination of the two, and they can change based on many different things, like the people you're with or the environment. For example, maybe you believe you can get better at one trick but not another one. Maybe as you get older, you start to believe like you won't ever learn a trick you've been trying for years. Maybe when you're around certain people, maybe your mindset changes because you care about how people perceive you, like the classic, when people rock up to the park and they're just like, I can't skate today, bruh, like, I haven't skated in 2 weeks, I'm really not feeling it, and they just go for like the hardest trick that they could possibly try, they've never done in their entire life with like no warm-up, and they're like, oh yeah, bruh, it's just not working today, These are things that like you might not say or think or do if you were skating alone, right? And fixed mindsets can be sneaky as well. Because on the surface, like for example with me, like on the surface level, I always believed that I could get better at skating, but I didn't fully believe that like all of the effort and practice that I was putting in was like actually helping, It was like, I believe I could get there, but like what I was doing just like didn't seem to work or count, or help. And to be honest, like a lot of the times it actually didn't, which we're going to get to later, like why that was and how you can practice skating much better. Now, you might be thinking a fixed mindset is just a more realistic view of the world. Like, mate, I've been trying nollie flips for 10 years and I just can't do them. Well, first off, no. Just no, alright? So, if there's one thing that I want you to take away from this webinar, this workshop, it's that with consistent action, you can get better at anything. No matter where you're at now or what it is, you can get better. Even the shit that scares you the most or the stuff that you find harder than anything else. And if you're wondering what that brain image is on the slide, I actually don't know. I just thought, it made what I would be talking about sound more legit, so I thought I'd put it there. So there it is. Okay, so even though I didn't know what that last image was, like, I do know that all of this shit is heavily backed up by science. This isn't just some law of attraction shit, okay? This is heavily scientifically backed. So not too long ago, science thought that the brain was unchangeable. That after you hit a certain age, you were basically stuck or fixed with what you've got. But then, something called neuroplasticity was discovered. This neuroplasticity showed us that our brain actually continues to rewire and change for your entire life, even when you're old and saggy, mate. So, check this video, okay? This shit's actually, this is crazy shit. This is really interesting. So, this is a 3D reconstruction of real images taken from a brain that had a microscope shoved into it. Legit. Someone has had a microscope shoved into their brain. I don't know how that felt, but, it happened. And this is from that. So our brain is this huge network of billions of cells called neurons, and this crazy web in the video shows how interconnected they all are, right? So for each habit, action, or trick, you have a mini map of a load of neurons that kind of tell you how to do it. And the more ingrained a habit, action, aka trick is, the more of these neurons and the more they'll be connected to other ones will be. Like the map will be basically just, it'll be bigger and it'll be more accurate, making that trick just more locked in. So every single trick that you know how to do is basically stored in a little strange bundle of brain goo like you see in that video. And through experience of trying, failing, and getting out there and skating regularly, you can rewire and solidify these maps, adding and connecting more neurons and making them stronger and more detailed, and literally changing the actual structure of your brain. So this is potentially going to suck to hear, right? But one irreplaceable aspect of neuroplasticity is failure. You have to fail a lot. Why? Because it's the failure that triggers your brain to realize that it needs to learn and get better. It's the mismatch between what you're doing and what you want to do that actually creates that learning. So when you're learning a trick, every bail is actually teaching your brain how to not do it as you figure out the right way to do it. So in reality, the actual land of the trick is just a tiny part of learning, and a much bigger part is all of those failures. The thing is though, like the fact that there's obviously like a delay between all of the effort and the land can make your progression not seem so obvious, which is one of the reasons why like so many people give up on learning tricks or building new skills and habits, because it often seems like you're making no progress at all, when really like behind the scenes so much shit is accumulating, and you're really building that skill to do that thing. It just hasn't fully manifested yet. You haven't reached that tipping point. It's like, you know, maybe you've been trying for 10 days, but you need to try one more day. Like maybe on that 11th day, it'll come through and you'll get it. So in the same way you can build a muscle with consistent effort, you can build your brain with consistent effort too. But if you don't believe that, aka you've got a fixed mindset, you won't allow yourself to open up to the experiences that will lead to that change. You know, if you believe that you can't do it, you're going to be right. And if you believe that you can do it, you're going to be right. And if you believe that you can't do it, you're also going to be right. So remember, like your beliefs influence what you do, what you think, what you feel and perceive. And research shows that like if you believe you can't get better at something, you likely aren't actually even going to go up against the necessary challenges to get better. I mean, why would you, right? Like in your mind, it doesn't help you get where you want to go, so what's the point? You essentially, like, you'll just see it as basically like a waste of time, and you'll respond to failure, resistance and setbacks by just giving up. And ultimately, you'll use all of those experiences to confirm your belief that you can't actually get better. What's also interesting though is like other studies have shown that people with a fixed mindset have less brain activity, which is maybe what they were showing in that previous picture that I didn't know about. They showed that like people with a fixed mindset have less brain activity when they're given feedback on something that they haven't done. Meaning they're literally like shutting off the brain to the information that could help them improve. Like they're just closing off to it. They're like, nah, don't want it. I was the master of that with my ex-girlfriend. Like every time she would speak, I'd just be like, completely shut off. Don't absorb anything. It's the perfect way. Whereas people with a growth mindset, they're going to embrace challenge because they know that it's worth it. You know, the effort and trying is what leads to learning, and they see all the failures and resistance and setbacks as just like necessary parts of the journey. It's part of it, part of the road, and they're going to actively try to learn and apply feedback from other people. So it's mental, right? That like you can just change the slightest thing in your mindset and like shift your entire perspective of life, right? Okay. This is the crazy bit. This is real crazy. Prepare yourself. Sit down, boys and girls, alright? We're getting wild. So, with a growth mindset, you essentially open yourself up to the opportunities that were always there, okay? The opportunities to get what you wanted were always there, but you just didn't see them. So there are parts of your brain involved in processing. Sorry, I just choked on some water. So there are parts of your brain involved in processing what's important and what's not important in your experience and environment. So right now, little experiment time. I want everyone to just look around them, okay? Look on the screen, look around your environment, have a little look, do a little circle, and yeah, just have a look. Just look at it. Have a little look-see, you know? Okay, now do the same thing. Look again, but this time I want you to look for the colour blue. Look at it. Look at the blue everywhere. There's blue everywhere. You see it? I hope there's some blue in your environment, but definitely blue on the screen. The thing with this, the blue was always there, right? But you just didn't give a shit because it wasn't important. You didn't care about the blue. You didn't see it when you looked out at the same environment. Now imagine if you believe that you can't do something or you can't get better, you'll constantly be looking for what supports that belief. You'll miss the colour blue. Whereas if you flip it, you'll start noticing things, opportunities, experiences that help you get where you want to go. Things and opportunities and experiences that were always there before. So if you have a fixed mindset and you're faced with a problem, you might see it as this massive obstacle. You'll compare where you're at now with where you want to go and perceive it as this huge uncrossable gap. Like, if you want to go pro, how are you going to solve that problem in one? Like, you just can't, right? You can't solve that in one foul swoop. So you're probably just going to feel like overwhelmed and quit, right, at the end of the day. But with a growth mindset, you accept you might have a long way to go and that you'll face resistance, but you'll start looking for solutions to get where you want to go and be willing to put in the effort because you believe that it's valuable and it's worth it. So there's loads of research that's showing that like growth mindset is essential for so many areas, like intellectual stuff, grades, sports performance, habit formation. And to be honest, like I think if you want to get anywhere in life, and especially if you want to take skating to wherever you want to take it, a growth mindset is an essential skill. So one way you can start developing a growth mindset in your own life is just to pay attention to, you know, your week and to how you think about different things and different challenges that you're faced with, skate related or not. You know, are you looking at those challenges and situations with a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? Then when you like figure out, all right, okay, I'm looking at this with a fixed mindset, you can ask yourself, you know, like, has anyone got better at this? Like, have I ever got better at this? And you'll probably find like the answer is yes to both of those questions. And now you can basically look at where you are on a continuum between where you want to go and where you are now. You can identify the blocks between now and then, and you can figure out some tiny little actions that you can do to basically start breaking down those blocks, building those skills necessary to get where you want to go. And just repeat that over and over and over and over again. Move your way up the continuum and get where you want to go. So if anyone's got any questions on what we've just gone over, like drop them in the comment section. We'll do a little Q&A at the end. And yeah, I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, continuing. So if we can literally change our brains and get better at anything, if we put in effort, why is it then that sometimes you just seem like you're not getting better? To cousin Jimmy, yes, this will be available later. I'm going to send out a recording, so don't worry. So yeah, if we can literally change our brains and get better at anything, if we put in effort, why is it then that like sometimes you just seems like you're not getting better? How can you try nollie flips for like 10 years and just not seem to improve? Well, there are some key ingredients to learning that you've probably like just not been implementing, and that you really need to if you're going to want to like learn effectively. So get your little aprons out, boys and girls. Here is the perfect recipe for learning. Okay? So you need the right amount of focus, physiological hypeness, repetition and failure, and deep rest. So let's break down each one of these now. Alright, imagine a session where you were like super anxious, where you got all in your head and were flooded with negative emotions. How did you skate in that session? No doubt you skated like shit. Now imagine a session where you were just super tired, real lazy, and with no energy. Like, how did that session go as well? Unless the hype started to rise at some point, probably didn't go too well either. It's also these kinds of sessions where you're most likely to get injured. Now think of some sessions where you skated well, you probably were somewhere in between, like not excessively hyped, but not overly relaxed either. You would have been in that sweet spot of physiological hypeness, if you will. So just to clarify from now on, like when I use the word hype, I'm using it to refer to like any kind of heightened physiological state that could be like stress, anxiety, could be like excitedness. Is that a word? Excitedness? Excited? Energized. Basically any state where you're kind of like getting up there and you're like getting to the point of like rah, kind of thing, or progressively going towards that rah state. When it comes down to learning new tricks and locking new ones in, the ideal hyped state is to be like somewhere in between. We don't want to be freaking the fuck out, but we don't want to be in pure Zen mode either. So why is that? Well, not only because you're literally going to be able to skate better in that middle state, but an essential piece is that to learn something new, you need to be focused on what you're doing. This doesn't mean like visually focused. You could be paying attention to like your board feel, like what's going on with your feet, how your body's moving, etc. But you basically just need to be focused. If you're too chill or you're too anxious, too physiologically hyped, you're going to struggle to focus. You know, when you're chilled, maybe you'll be thinking about what's for dinner, Like your mind would be way away. You'll be, what's for dinner? Maybe you'll be thinking about like that strange pigeon that you saw on the way to the skate park. Like if you're, you're going to be thinking of things that aren't related. If you're on the other end of the spectrum, like you're too excited, too stressed, like you're going to be distracted by your excitement as well. And you'll probably end up focusing on like what people think of your skating, or maybe the fact that you might get hurt. Oh, sorry, I didn't. So there we go on the graph. I forgot to press the button. There you can see the focus zone and the physiological hyped sweet spot. Okay, so as we all know, there are physical and emotional changes in our body depending on how we feel. When you're relaxed, your heart rate will be lower, your breathing will be slower, you'll feel less tension, less energy, you won't be so alert, you'll be focusing you won't be like focusing so sharply, and you'll be feeling more passive emotions. But as we go up that hype scale, everything will increase. So our heart rate is going to go up, our breathing is going to go up, we're going to feel more tension, we'll be more alert and focused. And as you hit that peak, you're going to be like wired as fuck. Either, you'll be feeling positive emotions like extreme excitement, or negative ones like extreme anxiety or fear. So where you are on that scale and where your hypeness is influenced by everything that's going on inside but also outside of you. And it's largely automatic, but there are certain things that we can do to influence it and bring us into that optimal level of hypeness so we can learn and skate better. So as weird as this might sound, like the core of hitting that optimal state is really that you need to feel safe. Sounds strange, right? But if you don't, you're going to be in a defensive state. And as your body's number one job is to keep you alive, the last thing it's going to care about is your little trick, your little maneuver on your little wooden toy. It's just not going to give a shit. That is not relevant to your survival. You'll feel, more negative emotions like anxiety, fear, and not only will you be in a worse state to learn, you'll actually close yourself off to trying new things and being open. So this doesn't have to mean feeling actually physically safe, as in like, is that weird guy at the skate park going to rugby tackle me right now as I go to pop my trick? It can also mean like, is your ego safe, right? So it seems like we're getting a little esoteric here, but we're actually not. Like this does actually make sense when you think about it. So for example, for me personally, like for a long time, I would struggle to skate in different environments with really good skaters, and I'd, get all nervous because I'd be thinking about whether or not I was skating good enough. I had this perceived level I had to skate at, and even if no one gave a shit about like how I was skating, I thought they did, and my sense of self was threatened in that situation. Not my physical safety, but my sense of who I was and my beliefs were being threatened, even if it was just me threatening them. So instead of being inspired by these better skaters and like, trying to learn from them, and they're probably nice people most of the time, and having like a growth mindset, I was stuck in this fixed mindset of like, oh, they're good, I'm not, and I would like close myself off. So your environment can have a massive impact on your ability to regulate your level of hype. And you can kind of see that in this graph right here, right? Like at the top, your performance, basically it gets better as you go up that hype level. But then as you get too hyped, like I was talking about before, that performance is going to drop. But then when you're in a threatening environment, even if you're getting to that what would be optimal level of hype if you were feeling comfortable and safe, because it's a threatening environment, performance is going to pretty much drop from the get-go. Okay, so yeah, if you wanna focus on learning, you need to make sure you're in an environment where you're able to feel comfortable and relaxed. At least in the beginning when you're locking a trick in, and then like after that you can put yourself in less like safe environments or ones that feel threatening to you, because that can actually help you lock in the trick further. But only once you've got it locked in. So yeah. So once we've ticked off the block of like feeling safe, we want to make sure we're not overly hyped. So we know that when we're more chilled, we breathe slower, our muscles are less tense, our heart rate's slower, and we can actually trick our bodies and minds into thinking that they're relaxed just by doing what they would do when you are actually relaxed. So some things that you can do, for example, like pay attention to where you hold tension when you're like too hyped, and actively just try and relax those areas. So for like me, I notice like my shoulders, I go like, like way up here. Not that high, but like I just feel some tension there, so like I'll actively focus on relaxing those spots. Breathing slower through the nose as well, so longer exhales through the nose. And this is a super interesting one that I learned from Andrew Huberman, skater and world famous neuroscientist. He's been on the 9 Club. Absolute boss, this guy. If you don't know him, go check him out. So he's got this physiological, well, it's not his, but like he talks a lot about this thing called the physiological sigh, and basically it can trigger relaxation like rapidly. So do it with me, alright? Everyone, right now, we're going to do it together. Don't leave me doing this on my own because I'm going to feel strange. Even though I can't see anyone, in my head, you're all doing it. So what it is an inhale through the nose, and once you're pretty much fully inhaled, you're then going to do a second little sharp inhale through the nose, and then you'll fully exhale through the mouth. So it's going to be in through the nose, and then out through the mouth. And if you do that like twice, you'll notice a pretty solid increase in relaxation. So one other thing we know when we're like hyped up is that our vision's going to narrow, and the opposite will happen when we're chilled. So we're going to go into more like panoramic vision. And another super interesting thing that Huberman talks about is that basically if you like focus on your peripheral vision and kind of go into panoramic mode, you can actually like increase or more so reduce your hypeness and kind of trigger that relaxation state. So you can basically combine those different things that are on the screen right now and do them. Like, it seems like a lot, but it's not going to take a lot at all. Just razz it until like your heart rate slows and you feel like a reduction in hypeness. Like if you start to notice like, all right, I'm getting too intense, I'm losing focus at the spot, like you can activate those or do those tools to deactivate that hypeness. And the other side is also true as well. So like if you're too relaxed and you need to increase that hypeness, you can just do the opposite. So maybe like a warm up with some high intensity movements. High intensity movements is key there. Maybe you could run around the skate park screaming. If you do, film it, tag me. Thank you. You could also just do some fast inhales through the mouth. But also understand that like sometimes your body needs to rest and like needs to relax, and if it's really, really chilled, like there's probably a good reason. It's probably asking for some recovery. Alright, so now we're safe, focused, alert, and our brains are as fertile as a 9-month-old goat. I googled this, and that is in fact the optimal age of conception for goats. Anyway, okay, so now comes the hard bit, alright? So you actually have to skate and fail excessively, day in, day out. There's no shortcut. You've got to put in those 10,000 hours in that optimal learning state, ideally, most of the time. And if you do those things, like, you're going to be killing it. Remember though, like, failure is the trigger for your brain to learn. So try and free yourself from the need to land it in the moment. Like, if it does happen, you're ready for it. If it doesn't, then you won't. And as long as you keep trying, then you're on the right path and you'll get there eventually. Right now though, I'm afraid like you're just where you need to be, and like, there's nothing you can really do to change that. If you can learn to value the process of all this and like really value effort and failure and trying tricks, then life is just going to be so much easier, because those wins, like, they're so unfrequent, right, in comparison to the amount of effort you put in. So imagine if, like, instead of having to wait to feel good, you're like, all right, fucking just feel good, like putting in the effort. You know, so build that growth mindset and learn to love failure is the message right there. This is important, right? Because the more you stress about not landing a trick, the more the physiological hypeness is going to build, and the more likely you'll take yourself out of that optimal state. So you can't force yourself to learn a trick. You almost have to like let go to get it. And another really interesting thing I learned from Huberman is that like when you hit that point of frustration, it's actually right after that your brain is kind of most ready to learn. And because it's paying like the most attention to what's going on. It's like really like, hey, shit, I need to sort something out. I need to really correct something that's going wrong here. So as you hit that state, acknowledge it, and just make sure that like your hypeness doesn't continue to increase, or like frustration continue to increase, by using those tactics I went over. And think you're just going into like deep learning mode. And he recommends doing that for like up to 30 minutes, like a block up to 30 minutes. And I would say like just cut it off and stop when you're either like unable to maintain focus, or like when you just feel like you need a break. Like sometimes you just know you should stop. Listen to those cues. And you can only learn so much at once as well, and this is especially true as you get older. Like when you're younger, you can pretty much just learn anything for all day long. But when you're older, you'll benefit from trying to learn fewer things about maybe a trick or fewer tricks on a day. And maybe just repeating that process like multiple times a day, giving yourself breaks in between. So you need to aim your efforts in the right place, but you also need to know when to call it a day. And the good news is though that even if you didn't get that trick on that day, like the next time you won't be starting from that same point. Like your brain will literally have changed. Remember those neural maps that we went over before? Like your brain's literally going to have changed to make it easier the next time you try it. Crazy shit, right? Crazy shit. And finally, to lock in all those attempts and solidify those neural maps, you need to get some deep rest, aka sleep. So not only is the sleep like the boss of physical recovery, it's also the boss of learning. And if you don't sleep, or if you don't sleep well, you're going to heavily inhibit your ability to learn and recover and grow. And pretty much do anything in life. Straight up. I have one night bad sleep and I'm a horrible person. Alright, so again, any questions? Drop them in that little box and I'll go over them at the end. So many of us know that straight up frustrating situation of being stuck in a loop of just like kicking your board away and not being able to commit, right? Trying countless attempts, and then eventually when the frustration builds up so much and you're like, alright, fuck it, I'm just gonna stick it because I'm just tired of being a gimbal. I'm just gonna like, just go for it. Then it doesn't flip right and you have to kick it away anyway, and you're like, and then you're stuck in, like, you lose that commitment power and you basically go back into the loop. So based on speaking to hundreds of skaters and doing like polls on Instagram and, you know, getting out on the street, interviewing the public, I found that fear to commit is one of the biggest things holding skaters back. And to really progress in skating, like the ability to commit is a skill that we just have to have. Like you need that skill. Luckily enough though, there are things that we can do to increase the chances of us committing. And now before we get into this as well, I just want to say that like you're never going to completely get rid of fear. Even if you did, you don't want it because you'd probably die. Because there's going to be nothing stopping you from just like jumping off a 5-story building, or just, you know, sacking yourself for fun, or flanging yourself for my ladies in here, right? You know, we need a term that encompasses, I think, like, you know, all of the genitalia in the sack term, like flacking or slanging. No, we can talk about that another time. So fear can obviously be useful, but as we all know, at times it can just be straight up annoying. Like I just went over then, and it can inhibit our ability to stick the tricks that we know that we can do. So when you jump down gaps, there's obviously much more potential for something to go wrong, right? Like maybe you're going to flip wrong, or you're not going to catch it right. Things that when there's not a gap involved, like, you know, it's not going to be a problem. But when there is that gap involved, it's going to lead to potentially much more serious issues, like you getting injured. And this is why that last second reflex of kicking out that we all know almost seems like out of your control. And it's because it largely is. There are actually like deeply ingrained lizard brain systems that have evolved over millions of years that, you know, they value keeping you safe so much more than your little Instagram clip. I'm sorry, but it's true. Now let's say you are skating El Toro, just a casual El Toro sesh. I'm sure the last thing you'd imagine you'd feel is safety, right? But you actually do need to feel safe enough to skate something massive like that. Something that just seems straight up dangerous to most people. The thing is though, like, danger is relative, and just because one person perceives something as dangerous doesn't mean someone else will. And in fact, like, unless you're an absolute fool who doesn't feel fear, no one tries a trick down El Toro that they don't have like 1000% locked in. People try tricks that they know they can do, and it's that knowing that generates that feeling of safety. So even though it might seem out of control and dangerous to most people, like for them it's going to be pretty calculated and actually under control. So first off, to build that feeling of safety, that control and confidence, you need to have the trick locked in. You need to fully understand it. I would say on flat before you try it down something. Like, yeah, there are some tricks that people figure out easier down stuff. I can't think of one for me, to be honest. But like, even for those tricks, you aren't going to learn them down a 10 stair. You're going to learn them off maybe like a 2 stair or something like that. So once you truly have that trick dialed, though, like you're gonna feel so much more ready to start taking it down progressively bigger gaps. Now, a huge part of committing down gaps is really teaching your mind and your body which of the attempts to commit to and which ones aren't. It's important. You're essentially learning which ones are safe and when you should commit, and teaching your brain to recognize what a potential land looks like, all right? Along with figuring out if you need to change the way that you actually do the trick. Like, oh, there we go, there's a land, says your brain. That's what it looks like. You're essentially learning the skill of commitment, right? Let me just finish this. This is fun. It feels like I'm playing a game, even though I'm not. Okay, but this is where most people go wrong. Many people either try tricks down gaps before they have the trick fully locked in, or they try them down a set that's too big, committing just too hard, and therefore not giving the brain the information that it needs to know, or that it needs to know when it should commit, basically. So you need to be able to commit to the ones that work, so you can teach your body and your mind what a potential land looks like and feels like. And then obviously which ones you shouldn't commit to. But if you're stuck in that loop of like kicking out, and you're kicking out the good ones too, your brain probably doesn't know the difference between a potential slam or a potential land. Doesn't know the difference between a pig or a duck. Like, they're just both the same. So if what you're skating is out of your comfort zone, that reptilian inside of you is going to choose safety, and it's going to kick them out. Kick it out. Kick the trick out. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. You get it. Ideally, you want to get to a point where you're trying to commit to almost every single attempt. Now, not including the ones that you're going to do at the start of the session just to like feel out the spot. But that also doesn't mean, stomping every attempt. It means you're kicking out the shit ones, but you're going for the ones that are going to work, because your brain and body, through experience and repetition, can recognize the pattern of a good flip and knows that it's a good one to commit to. I'm not gonna lie, like this is hard to develop, but like with going through that progressive approach of really skating smaller stuff, getting really comfortable in that smaller set, getting consistent, and then taking it up to the next set is gonna make a huge difference. If you hold on, let me just play this video. So if you watch like the full Paczynski clip, like the kickflip down El Toro, you'll see that he's actually going for everyone, and he's just kicking out the ones that obviously aren't going to work. But the only way you can really, teach your brain that is by trying a trick you want to learn down a gap small enough that you can actually commit to, right? Like if you can't commit, you're not going to give your brain that understanding of which ones are the right ones. So the obvious is true, like be progressive with the size of your gaps that you skate, but also like make sure you're able to commit by choosing a trick you've got locked in and a spot that's just on the edge of your comfort zone. And don't get me wrong, like you're going to eat shit. Like, that is just a part of skating. You're never going to get rid of that. And to be honest, I even like eating a little bit of shit. I'm not going to lie, every now and then. But the potential for eating much more shit or having a much more serious injury is going to go down, like massively. Now, like I said, you're never going to get rid of fear, and if you're skating something big or something that feels big for you or that's out of your comfort zone, you're going to feel much more physiologically hyped. These feelings are going to, they're going to be an unavoidable part of skating if you're pushing yourself, and it's going to be useful to learn how to tolerate them and still skate when you've got these like higher levels of stress and hype running through your body. You essentially need to extend your sweet spot. Your sweet spot focus zone. Have I done? Okay, so there we go. You can see. Alright, look at the graph on the right, the probably too hype section. Boom. We extended our sweet spot focus zone. You need to do that and teach yourself the skill of maintaining focus, like in that wider zone of hype. And teaching yourself to stay relatively relaxed when you've got those higher levels of stress and hype going on. Like if one of us skated El Toro, we'd probably be freaking out in our heads, right? Like I'd personally probably be sitting at the top of the set, like just crying if I had to skate it. But even though Paczynski would have, he would have been scared and he would have been hyped with probably a lot of emotion running through him, he wouldn't have been excessively freaking out in his head, like so much so that he lost focus. He would have been able to have all that shit going on and still do what needs to be done. This is super important if you want to try tricks out of your comfort zone, and it's also super useful for those times where you just like need to force yourself to try and get past that initial burst of fear. You know, sometimes when you're just like freaking out and you just can't get yourself to commit, but you just need to do one, and often like once you've done that one, the trick turns out to be easy. It's times like that when this is super useful as well. So like we learned before, this isn't going to be an ideal state to learn a trick in. This is more of a state to try something that you've already got dialed. So, you know, think of people who skate Street League as well, like same as El Toro, same as Pachinski. Like they're going to be physiologically hyped, no doubt, but they're able to maintain focus to stick the tricks they've got on lock. And at the end of the day, like no one's trying to learn in that environment. So some ways you can work on this are trying to skate in situations that stress you and use those like those hype regulation tools, the hype regulation tools that I went over earlier to practice staying calm. Maybe you could skate on a busy road full of traffic or set fire to your shoes, for example, you know? No, I'm just joking, like don't actually do that. The sad thing is in 2022, like you need to say don't do that because otherwise someone's going to do it. Right? So, you know, instead of that, just go skate in a skate park that you feel uncomfortable in. That's probably a better option. And just remember, like, these aren't going to be good situations to learn in. And it's also going to be much harder to do this if you're in like a higher intensity situation that you perceive as negative versus positive. Remember that stress curve related to the environment before. And you can also practice facing discomfort in like any area of your life you do, and just like trying to stay calm. So like cold showers, ice baths, like we've got Jerry Hasu and Reynolds in some ice baths right there. There's things that basically scare you and, you know, doing shit that you don't want to do, basically. I personally think this stuff's like so useful, and, you know, if you build that stress tolerance, like it's going to influence positively all areas of your life. All right, boys and girls, we're getting to the end. Last section. All right. So another huge piece to overcoming fear, learning quick and feeling good on our boards is the physical realm and how physically capable we perceive ourselves to be in general, but on that day. So some science boards did some research where they got different groups of people to estimate the incline of a hill, and they found that those who were unfit, older, fatigued from running a race, or just like with a heavy backpack on, estimated the hill to be steeper than it was, whereas fitter people or runners at the start of a race didn't. So what does that mean? Well, it means that your perception of your physical abilities is going to influence how you perceive the world. So the fitter or more capable, or more like physically capable you get, the easier the world will seem physically, the easier it will seem to skate. So think, if you're one of those skaters who struggles with low energy, aches and pains, like, I don't know, lack of power or pop, stiffness, feeling destroyed after your sessions, imagine how that's going to influence your perception of what you're capable to do when you skate. Not to mention like what you're actually able to do. Not only are you going to perceive things as harder, you'll probably push yourself less and have more fear of getting injured too. But if we flip that, imagine now like you're feeling super strong. You got energy. You know, you're moving well, pain free. You're going to perceive yourself as just so much more capable, and you literally will be. You know, you'll end up pushing yourself, progressing more, and being less scared because you perceive yourself as being more able. Whereas like that lack of physical ability is going to make you think like, shit, maybe there's high risk of getting injured here. So of course, like a lot of these different things that I just went over, a lot of those different symptoms can come from like injuries and medical issues, but there's still a lot of real basic shit that we can do to increase our physical state. Starting off, resistance training, right? The classic. No one wants to do it, but trust me, it's essential for every human on the planet. Like if we're picking the right exercises and doing them right, resistance training can help us raise the bar of what our bodies can actually handle and can actually do. So, you know, the better we'll be able to handle higher forces from things like jumping down gaps or slamming, along with being able to handle more lower intensity repetitive forces from, say, long sessions. And not only is that going to reduce your risk of injury and need to recover excessively, but it's also going to improve how you actually skate, along with keeping your joints healthy, maintaining muscle that you're going to be susceptible to losing as you age, and a loss of muscle is actually one of the reasons why, those grandmas that always walk like so damn slow, like when you're about to try a trick, like right past the run up to the spot. And it's always in that moment where, you're like, okay, this is the one, I'm going to go for it. And then you got to wait for like 45 seconds for a grandma. Like, they're walking that slow because of one of the reasons, at least, from a loss of muscle. Resistance training is basically then, it's just going to not only extend your skate lifespan, but your actual lifespan in general. So a lot of people think that resistance training is just strength, it's just a strength thing, right? Like, if I increase strength somewhere in my body, we're good, that's all I need. Which is why you see a lot of skaters that do work out, they just do like push-ups or sit-ups. But the truth is, like, building strength and a bit of muscle, yeah, it is an important part, but there's also a lot more to it. Like, for example, you need to, like, so you can make sure that you can, like, just move fluidly and take your joints through the necessary range of motion to get into the positions you do when you skate. So you can stabilize your body when you're doing tricks, holding slides, whatever. So you can create and absorb the rapid elastic forces of popping and landing, and basically just be able to supply enough energy to just do all that shit. So these are all things that don't really have much to do with building big amounts of muscle, but things that are essential to feel and skate at your best, and they're all things that we can train. So the more you raise your threshold to all the specific strange shit that you do on your board, the less skating is going to stress your body, the faster you'll recover, the longer and more energized your sessions will be. You're going to pop higher. Everything is just going to be great. Like, you're just going to be feeling so much better on your board. And like I said, like, I know no one wants to do this shit, but legit, it makes such a massive difference. Like, I can say that 1000% honestly. Like, it makes a huge difference, and that's why we're seeing so many pros these days starting to train. Now, I'd be a fool if I told you that training is all you need. I'd be a fool. Like, just to prepare yourself for skating, you can't just lock yourself in a dungeon and do 5,000 squats and think you're going to be ready to skate. Like, your body adapts based on what you do, right? And it gets better and more efficient at the things that you do most. So you have to actually skate regularly to keep your body adapted to skating. So, like 2 sessions a week should be the minimum, really. And with both training and skating, you want to try and reduce massive peaks in intensity, meaning going for just like 1 5-hour session at the weekend, or jumping downstairs once a month when you usually only skate, say, ledges or flat, is something you should try and avoid as much as possible, because they're going to take you so much further past what your body's currently adapted to handle. And you're going to have to just like spend so much more time recovering. You're potentially going to skate or train less and just slow down your overall progress, because you're having to skip days or just not push yourself as much as you would if you were feeling on point. And like, yeah, I get it. Like, sometimes a massive session happens, and I'm not saying that you should avoid massive sessions. Of course not. Just because you don't want to be sore. Like, nah, sometimes you've got to get it, like YOLO, you know what I'm saying? But just realize that they're probably gonna leave you with a pretty hefty post-session throb on, along with potentially meaning that you've got to, miss some days skating. The good news is, though, by progressively increasing the intensity of your skating and resistance training, you can actually increase what your body can currently handle, meaning those sessions that would have been like a 9 out of 10 on the throb meter become like a 2 or a 3. And the key to really like that adaptation process, along with ensuring your brain learns and locks in new tricks, is recovery. So I'm not saying like, foam roll your brain, foam roll your head. It's not really going to help. And to be honest, like, it's not really going to help your physical recovery either. Those little tools are just little extra nuggets, but they're not going to do almost nothing if you don't have the basics locked in, the fundamentals locked in. So the fundamentals of recovery, like, super simple. Just basically programming, so not skating or training so much more than what your body can currently handle. You want to be getting deep rest, like actual sleep. That is the number one recovery tool you have, is sleep, for physical recovery and locking in those old neural maps that we went over before. And you want to as well, like, if we go back to that physiological state of getting in that more relaxed side of our nervous system, that's the state that you want to try and spend most of your time in, because that's the state that promotes recovery. Whereas like these days, so many people are just freaking out all day long, like rushing around, trying to work. And we're often kind of too physiologically hyped, and we're taking ourselves out of that recovery state that our body likes to be in. So that's the state that we want to try and be in as much as possible. Obviously, that doesn't mean like, you know, you need to be Zen mode at all moments of the day, but just feeling like physiologically safe and comfortable and not physiologically hyped, let's say. And the last one, nutrition. So what we eat not only gives us what we need to recover, it also powers our skating, our health and well-being, brain health and learning, and like literally anything, like energy levels, everything is powered by nutrition. People always look for those exclusive hacks or diets, but when it comes to nutrition, again, like with recovery, it's all about just locking in the fundamentals, and what you're eating most of the time is really what matters. So this means just, you know, trying to get the right amount for you personally and getting most of your food from just a variety of mainly whole foods and minimally processed foods. You don't have to eat like the perfect diet at all times. Like, nah, that shit's just boring, right? You gotta have fun. You gotta have a biscuit every now and then, right? But what you're eating most of the time is what's important. So just trying to get most of your meals from each of the different food groups: carbs, fat, protein, non-starchy veggies, aka like spinach, carrots, kale, shit like that. And if you combine that and get that in most of your meals, along with drinking enough water, like, you're going to be killing it. Like, it doesn't have to be complex. Like, that is really some essential things right there. The only real time that we need some kind of like specific nutrition strategy is like during sessions that are longer than 60 to 90 minutes, or if we've got like a heavy session that requires a lot of recovery. Like sessions that are up to 60 to 90 minutes long, all you need is water, but beyond that, you're going to benefit from getting in some carbs just to keep your energy level up, because carbs are what powers like the tricks and the more higher intensity movements, but you've got a limited tank. So as you start to lower and burn through that tank, your energy is going to drop, and getting in carbs throughout your session is just going to postpone the drop of that tank. So this is also super important if you're going to go for like 2 sessions in one day, or like work out and skate in the same day, because think that first session is going to deplete some of those stores. So you need to try your best to just get in some carbs straight away afterwards if you're going to go again in like 24 hours, just to make sure that when you start that second session, your energy level is up as much as it could be. So imagine like, you know, you're doing all this shit, you're training, you're eating better, recovering, raising that physical capacity, and you're literally going to change like how you feel. And as a result, like your perception of what's possible is going to change as well. Your perception of what you can actually do on a board and in this flesh vehicle called a body is going to completely change. Okay, so yeah, hopefully I made a good case for the fact that progressing with skating, it's not just about how you move your legs as you try different tricks. There are also like so many other things that we can do as well. But at least now, by like knowing this, you have a more reliable map to actually like prepare yourself physically and mentally for skating and to get wherever you want to get with it. I'm not trying to say that like this stuff's easy to implement, you know, like, or stay consistent with. Of course not. Like, I'm not saying, you know, it's just like law of attraction style, just think your way into it. Nah, I mean, like the mental part is huge, but you need to take consistent action, obviously, as well to get anywhere, put in that effort. But if you apply that with that growth mindset approach and you figure out how to stay consistent, like it's pretty much guaranteed that you'll get where you want to go. Just like, don't try and change everything at once. Take small actions that like might even seem so small that they seem stupid, but just small enough that you can actually stick to them and do them consistently, and then you can progress beyond that once you've locked those ones in. And ultimately just like enjoy the journey too. So if you're like, all right, yeah, you know, I feel like I know what I need to do, I can razzle this on my own, then great, like go for it. Keep me posted on how you get on. I would legitimately love to know. Share it on Instagram. Let me know how you guys are doing, like implementing these different tips and different hacks and stuff like that. And on the other hand, if you find locking in new habits hard, or you're not really too sure where to start with all this, then I feel you 100%. Like building new skills, locking in new habits, they're hard. And knowing when and like how to implement different things can be hard as well. So to solve that problem, what I've done is I've put together a 12-week course called the Skate Life 2.0, the Advanced Performance Development course, where I'm going to be working directly with 12 people to lock in all of these different things that I went over today and so much more. This course is basically built so you can learn the fundamentals of nutrition, how to just build consistent quality nutrition habits that power your skating, recovery, well-being, how to build a consistent training habit as well, so that that doesn't negatively impact your skating, and so you can increase strength, power, stability, endurance, movement quality, all through 12 weeks of skate-focused resistance training that is going to be in the program, in the course. We're going to be going over recovery. Oh, that one's not recovery. That one shouldn't be in there, but now you know. Now you know we're also going to be going over skate mind. So we're going to be developing a resilient skate mind, or inner power, to handle fear, gain confidence, and do the tricks you know you can do. There it is. There's recovery. We're gonna go over how you can recover optimally for skating, so you can learn fast, adapt, and maintain a higher quality of skating. And ultimately, we're going to be going over and working on the understanding of like how your body, mind, and environment all influence each other. They're all interconnected, and how we can start optimizing different things in different areas to basically get where we want to go. So it's really focused on building like skills in all of those different areas, knocking down the blocks that are preventing us to excel in those different areas. And the beauty of this course as well is that it's action based, meaning like from day one you're going to be doing shit. All right, it's not just like me blasting you with information and sending you on your way. Like, we're going to be literally doing shit like from day one. It's also heavily focused on making this stuff work for you personally, and how we can integrate these things into your life in a way that like actually works for you, so then you can continue to do this shit like way past the end of the course. It's going to be 100% online, so you can do it from anywhere. You'll be working with me directly through the different live workshops that we'll be doing. There's going to be a private app which you can use, which you'll be using to like help you along the way, and where you can reach out at any point for help and support. And don't worry as well, like, this isn't about changing skating. I hope I've made that pretty clear by now. This course is by skaters for skaters, so we're not touching anything that makes skating as amazing as it is. We're not changing things like the freedom, creativity, or whatever it is that you love skating for. I'm not going to tell you what tricks to do, or just to go and do some slalom around some cones at the skate park. We're blending all of the amazing shit that is skateboarding with useful habits, skills, and changes that allow us to just get even more from skateboarding that we already do. So yeah, this course is gonna start on the 2nd of September, although the first week's just gonna be a little like prep week before we fully get going on the 9th. It's just $99 a month, so it's cheap as shit. $99 a month is nothing. And there are only 10 out of 12 spots left, and they could fill up pretty quick. So if this is something that you're interested in, I'm going to put a link down in the description below, and in the chat as well, and everywhere that I can. If I can't figure out where to put it, places, then thedailypush.com. And if you're not ready for a course like that, like, you can subscribe to the channel, head over to thedailypush.com for a lot more content covering all of the different things that I've gone over today in more detail. And yeah, that's it. We're done. So massive thanks to everyone that came out. Like, I legitimately appreciate all of you. I'm honored that I get to like stand here and talk about this shit to skating, like this. I legit never thought I would be in this situation 10 years ago, or when I started skating. So like, I'm legitimately hyped and honored to be able to bring you this kind of information. And I really hope that it helps you in some way. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions about the program, about anything that we went over, I'm going to be putting a link for the program down in the description below. So yeah, that's it. Like, there's a delay on basically like the stream and me talking, so it might be a bit of a weird conversation with lots of long pauses, but we'll get there. Okay, so Ron Jalok asked, how do you sign up? So you can sign up through a link. I'm going to put a link in YouTube right now. One sec, I'm coming in on the phone. Okay, how do I do this? This is the kind of stuff, like the most important. Oh, I don't figure out before the session. Okay. Hold on. Wait there, please. One moment, please. Okay. So, yep, if anyone's got any questions, drop them down in the section below. I'm going to be dropping now. Okay, so that is how you sign up right there. And yeah, if anyone's got any questions about anything, like, blast me with those questions. I'm going to go through now a little bit, see if there's any have been asked before. Camillo Dinamarca asks, can I repeat the breathing? Yeah, sure. So basically what it is a long inhale through the nose and then a sharp inhale through the nose at the end of that inhale, and then a long exhale through the mouth. So it's like this, all right? Inhale through the nose. Short, fast one through the nose. And then through the mouth. So long through the nose, a second sharp one through the nose, and then long through the mouth. So yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, if no one's got any questions, I mean, maybe I'll just be on my way. I'll hang around for like another minute or so, and then just to see if there's maybe like a lag, and then I'll bounce. So yeah, massive thanks to everyone that's come. Legit, appreciate you all, absolute legends. I'm gonna be. Okay, Matt asked, can I tell him a bit more about the program? Yeah, sure, mate. What do you want to know? It's. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, basically the program's going to be starting in 12 weeks. It's going to be me working directly with 12 people. There's 10 spots left. We're going to be going for 12 weeks working on different skills throughout those weeks that progressively build on top of each other in all of those different domains, from like nutrition, training, building that skate mind, locking in recovery, and hitting all those different deep performance areas. Lots of essential skills that are going to really take your skating to the next level, improve how you feel on your board, improve how you skate, and just literally, like, I mean, you saw how some of that shit that we just went over can completely, just a slight change can completely change your outlook on so many different things. So yeah, I'm really hyped on it. I'm really pleased with it, and I think, like, I know that it's going to make a big impact in whoever's life that does it. So yeah, I'm really excited to get that going. If you've got any specific questions, let me know. Have I got any more daily push videos coming up? Yes, 100%. There's a lot more in the works. I've got a list somewhere. Okay, it's not in arm's reach, but there's a big list of content ideas, so there's a lot more coming. Yeah, sick. Well, I guess that's it. We'll call it a day. No more questions. If you do have any questions about the program or anything, like, just hit me up on Instagram. If you got any questions about anything that I went over today, again, Instagram or like email at the dailypushonline@gmail.com. And yep, check out the Daily Push for lots more content. thedailypush.com for lots of content on all of those different topics that I went over now, for the program and for everything that you need, mate. All right. So yeah, massive thanks to everyone. Legit appreciate all of you. And yeah,